Gene Deforest. He is the incumbent of Constable Precinct 2, and it's November 6, 2019. With me is Larry Rogers, Dale Fessenden, James Byers, Bob Bagley, Dennis Tibbs, and Pat Tibbs. So as we discussed, Constable Deforest, why don't you get us started with your opening? Thank you for coming in tonight.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate you inviting me to come down and speak to you all. I'm Gene Deforest. I am the Constable for Precinct 2 and have been for the last almost 19 years. I've been in law enforcement for about 45 years. Married to my wife for 45 years. I have a daughter and 2 beautiful grandkids. In fact, tomorrow is one of my granddaughters' birthday. She turns 13 years old. I worked for Conroe PD for nearly 20 years when I ran for office and was elected the first time back in 2000, taking office 2001. And I believe in working for the people. I don't believe in working for any person or doing special interests for different groups or anything. Like I say, I am elected by the people, and that's who I work for. I don't work for commissioners. I don't work for the county judge, the sheriff, the district attorney, or anybody else. When I took office back in 2000, when I ran back in 2000 for office, I told them, I said, I work for the people and I'm the people's choice, and that was my motto. I believed in professionalism, pride, honesty, and integrity, and I built the foundation of my office on those 4 basic principles, and I held everybody in my office to those levels. And I have a great office staff. Slowly but surely I'm getting some manpower where I've now started my evening shift. Sometimes I think that can get you in trouble, as it did last night, but we're out there working for the people and serving the people and patrolling and protecting the communities and doing what we can. I've always believed in community policing, and we've done that since day one. It's not anything new to this office. We go out and patrol the communities and try to be seen in the neighborhoods and try to disrupt crime to where it doesn't happen in our communities. Even though we do have it, I mean, we're never going to get rid of it. It's always going to be there. But, well, my guys get out there and work. We serve around, probably this year will be a little over 5,000 civil papers with somewhere around 8,000 attempts of service. I have 4 civil deputies that do that. I have a patrol sergeant that we just put on evening shift. I have a lieutenant, a captain, and a chief deputy, and the rest of my officers. I have a narcotics officer, an investigator. I have an ICAT detective that works internet crimes against children, and I hired her and brought her in. She does a fantastic job. I'm very proud of the work that she does to try to help get predators off the street for their children, because I can't stand that. I have a MAP program, a motorist assist program that we started years ago, and he runs up and down the freeway helping people that break down, run out of gas, try to get them off the freeway, change tires, whatever they need, we provide to get to them, from putting gas in their car to calling a wrecker for them so they can get them off the freeway where they can get them out of danger. I'm very proud of the work that we do there. I have a bailiff who works for the Justice Court and takes care of JP and does civil process on top of that also. Like I say, we normally get somewhere around 5,000, probably between 5 and 5,500 this year. I've heard we have a backlog of papers. That is not true. We do not have a backlog of papers. That is a no-no as far as civil process goes. We are mandated by law to serve civil process in a timely manner. We are mandated by law to do it due diligently, to make sure that we get 3 or 4 attempts per civil paper, sometimes 5 attempts. It just depends on what it is and then what we do with it. Sometimes we get it back to the courts. Sometimes we get a rule from the court and go back out with that rule. We have different kinds of writs. We have like 38 different kinds of civil papers that we serve. And I'm proud to say that in the almost 19 years that I've been to council, we have never been sued by anybody. Not me personally, or the county, or my office, and I'm very proud of that. And my time is almost up. She's looking at me, and I see it down to 4 seconds. I'm proud to be here, and I'm honored to be the constable for Precinct 2. So,
All right, well, thank you, appreciate it. What, have other constables been sued? You say you haven't.
yes, I have.
Have they?
Yes.
In all areas, 1, 2, or excuse me, 1, 3, 4, or 5?
That, I can't answer that because I don't know for sure. I know some of them have been. Actually picking out the ones that have, I would rather not do that, but.
Sure. Okay, I was just curious. What, you said you're a graduate, well, first of all, let me back up. Did you ever announce before this election that you were not seeking re-election? Because there seems to be a flurry of activity of candidates coming in to seek this office.
About 4 years ago, I said, I figured at the end of this term was gonna be 20 years. So I said, I didn't come out and actually say that I'm not going to run again, but I said, I think this may be my last one. That's my terminology that I use. And then the people come out and says, oh, we don't want you to give it up, we want you to run again. This is the public. And especially during Harvey, when we had the flood in River Plantation, Magnolia Bend, and the other areas that we service. People didn't want me to retire, they want me to run again. My whole office staff brought me in the office one day and said, we need to talk. We don't want you to retire, we want you to do one more term for us. And I understand that. You have somebody come in that's new, comes into the office, 9 times out of 10 they're gonna bring in the people they wanna bring in and get rid of the people that they don't want there. So I do have people that work there that need that extra 4 years for their retirement, and I owe them that. And I owe the people elected me to do a job, so, they want me to run again, and they've asked me to run again, so I owe them that much. I love my job, don't get me wrong, I love my job. Can't stand politics. Every 4 years I have to put up with it, but I love my job, I love helping people, I love doing things for the community, I love doing, helping people no matter what it may be. They pick up the phone and they call me, they actually can get a hold of me. My office, I'm very proud of that. I don't have a recording when you call my office. You call my office, you actually get to talk to a person. So, and I'm very proud, I refuse to have that done, because I think the people deserve that.
Okay, thanks. Larry?
How many total people do you have, your officers in office?
I have 14 deputies and 4 office staff. And then I have reserves, and I had them on a posse that help out. They're volunteers.
About how many volunteers?
Oh gosh, I don't have a number off the top of my head.
Geographically, what is the area that your precinct constable office cover?
Well, I'm a centralized constable for the county, so my office is downtown Conroe by the courthouse. I cover everything out going west, 105, from the Loop and west 105, all the way towards Montgomery, past April Sound, everything on the south side of the road. North side is Precinct 1. Go out to North Loop, all the way to Airport Road, go out to Airport Road, all the way to Grossville, everything on the east side, all the way down to Cut and Shoot, all the way down to Grangerland, and then back up is Precinct 2.
I know police officers and constables have off-duty. When they're off-duty, they can have a job.
Extra jobs, yes, sir.
Is there something that you allow, or do you have anything to say about that? Or, is that something that is automatic that they can do?
Yeah, they have to put in for it. They have to tell us what they're going to do and what it is and where it's at. But yes, I do allow them to work extra jobs, they can make extra money. They do not use county vehicle, they use their own private vehicle for it. I don't mind them, if they're going to someplace and they're gonna sit and not use the county vehicle at all, and that includes sitting in it, running the air conditioning, I don't mind them taking the car from when they're getting off work to go into the extra job, parking it, getting out, and doing their job, and then going home.
Okay.
Okay, you mentioned that you have one person that, how long has that person who works ICAC been with Precinct 2?
I had a gentleman that worked ICAT for a period of time for me, and I promoted him to captain. And I had been watching this other female for quite some time. And I called and asked her if she'd be interested in coming to work for me, because I thought she could do me a good job. Her name's Pam Minshaw. And so she eventually finally come talk to me. I was in no hurry to fill a position. I thought she would do a great job, and she did accept the position. I put her in the position, and she's doing a fantastic job working.
Okay, well, I know that every time I hear ICAC mentioned, it's always in relation to Precinct 3. So how does she coordinate efforts with Precinct 3?
We actually work out of the district attorney's office. She works out of my office, but the ICAC group work together. We have Conroe PD, Precinct 1, Precinct 5, ours. Precinct 3 kind of does their own little thing. And so we get involved with Precinct 4 also. So generally all the constables get together, and with Conroe PD, we have one or two from Conroe PD that works with the agency. But we work out of the district attorney's office. We work very close with them. Brett Ligon has several attorneys that work with us or work with the group to make sure that anything comes in, and also DPS comes in on that too, because we run polygraphs and they take care of all that for us. But yeah, I mean, you may see or something for Precinct 3 because they put it all out there, and we don't. Everything, we don't want, I guess you could say everybody know what's going on all the time. And we do that for safety reasons, for our people, number one, and for other people out there, so we can actually catch these people.
Okay, thank you. James?
Can I ask one question? Explain what that is, what's the name of it, ICAD or?
I can't,
It has to do
internet
with-
crimes against children.
James.
Think back to when you first were elected. You mentioned you were with Conroe Police Department 15 years, I think?
Almost 20 years.
Almost 20.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And if you look at your opponents, there are 3 currently, and their qualifications, or lack thereof. Is there anything that you feel the voters should look at that would disqualify any of them? You can use names or not, totally up to you. Or where do you think, we all know you've got 20 years just about on the job experience. But looking at where you started out, is there a lot you think you know now that you didn't know when you started that perhaps your political opponents might not know? That's a game changer type thing for voting.
I was being the constable for 19 years. I know what the job entails. I know what being a leader entails. I'm not just a supervisor, and like I always tell people, you can't be a good leader without having good people to lead, because they're the ones that go out there and do the job. I don't go out there and run the papers and do the papers and do everything that needs to be done. They do that.
Right.
And like I say, you can't be a good leader without good people to lead. And I have those people. I've put those people in place. And do I think the guys out there that are running against me, I don't talk bad about anybody that runs especially against me. I never have, for everybody that's run against me, I've never said anything negative about any of them. And I do have some stuff to say about one of these guys that's running against me, but I just don't do that. Gosh, I don't know how to answer this without,
You don't have to be politically correct, it's not important to us.
I'm never politically correct. I've never been that, and the whole time I've been in politics, but, and I'll say, you know, I've had one of them come over and actually sit down and visit with me we probably talked for 2 hours, or almost 2 hours. And I like him. I mean, they've complimented me, on the job that I've done. I've got one of them stabbing me in the back. I don't care to do that. I just talk about what Gene Deforest done, and Gene Deforest wants to do, and wants to continue to do, and that's serve the people. That's what I want to do, is to serve the people and make this office even a better office than it is right now. And of course, you know, my office is governed by Commissioner's Court as far as giving me manpower or
Right.
money. But I can say that there's no waste as far as money in my department. None. I work on a bottom line level. I've never gone in and asked, oh, give me $10,000 because I need 2. I've never asked for, give me 5 people because I need 1. I've never believed in that. I go in and ask for what I believe that I need, and I can prove that I need it. But I've never been that way as far as going above.
Thank you.
I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
You mentioned about deputies using the county vehicles and, or their personal vehicles. A few years ago, the commissioners and all of their, earlier you talked about off-duty deputies using the county vehicles in order to get to their jobs. And if they need to use a vehicle for their job, they use their personal vehicles. So a few years back, the commissioners and all their infinite wisdom decided they were gonna take away the personal cars and make you all have county cars. Has that turned out financially good for you as the constable, and has it been a benefit for serving the people by doing this versus them using their personal vehicles?
My personal opinion on this is when the county decided to go out and buy vehicles for everybody and take their car allowance away from them, the car allowance was like $19,500 a year. And it doesn't take a mathematician to figure this out. You're going out and you're gonna buy a car for $35,000. Okay? Now, you're gonna have to buy tires for that car. You're gonna have to put fuel in that car. And in 3 years, you're gonna have to buy another car. $19,500 a year was a car allowance. Keep that in mind. Now, if a deputy was to go out here and get into an accident, that's on his insurance. Now it's on the county. And it comes out of my budget that I don't have. Now, if that car breaks down and it's not under warranty, guess who pays for it to have it fixed? There's no shop around that can handle every vehicle in this county to maintain it. They need to have a shop built to do maintenance, oil changes, because you're gonna pay for the oil changes too. And to me, that the county's losing money on it. I think that 19,000, of course, the deputies, you know, when they got their car, when they buy a new car, and of course they're in the hole, that $19,000 does not pay for a car for them. Does not pay for their gas. And they watch, well, you know, the miles they drive and stuff. Now, it's county vehicle. Now, you know, yeah, they're gonna go out there and patrol a lot more. It's not their gas.
Don't worry about it.
So has that worked out better then, to do it that way?
It works out better for the deputy that gets a county car now and doesn't have to worry about his car as far as doing anything to it, because he had to keep all the maintenance up on that car. Now he doesn't have to worry about that. So I mean, it's a good deal for the deputy, and the deputy can still keep that private car and do law enforcement work with it. Because when I came in office, I met with, or when Brett Ligon came in office, I met with him and I had explained to him what we did to make sure that we were all legal on his page. And he said, yeah, as long as you're doing a law enforcement function, you're fine. Because it has, county radio and the county equipment that's in it. Of course, you can't take that equipment out of that car and use it for anything.
Correct.
Because it's for that car. And now they're, most of them are buying Tahoes and some pickup trucks. Do I think it was a good deal for the deputy? Yes, absolutely. For the county. They said, I met with Amanda, and of course, I argued against this when we sat with Novak and everything, all of them in this meeting, and they all were all for this, and I argued with it, and they told me I was wrong. I've argued with it with Amanda, she told me I'm wrong. I'm not a good, as far as the English language and my spelling, but I am good at math. Math was one of my best subjects. And when I worked for Conroe PD as a detective, I worked a lot of cases that dealt with figures. And I made a lot of cases, and great cases. So I know figures. Like I said, for the deputies, it's a fantastic position.
Thanks.
Okay. It sounds like if you get reelected that this probably would be your last term.
Yes, sir.
And if you do get reelected, are you committed to serving the whole 4-year term?
Yes, sir, I am. I look at it as the people have elected me for 4 years to serve them, and I owe that to them, because they are the ones that have elected me to do it. I don't believe in, oh, we're gonna elect him for 4 years, oh, I'm in office for 4 more years, I'm just gonna do 2 and I'm gonna walk away. I don't believe in that.
Well, what is your personal position and what are your instructions to your deputies on when they can enter private property or enter a private residence without the owner's consent?
It depends on what they're doing.
Well, when could they walk up the door and say, your neighbor said there's something going on in here and I want to come in your house and look, and they say, there's nothing going on here, I don't want you in here?
Cannot go in. We have no authority without a search warrant.
Okay. And how about for private property? The deputy is on the side of the street, he sees somebody in the yard, and again, he says, a neighbor called and said you were beating somebody up here. Can he go on that private property? There's no evidence of it.
As long as, if he has no evidence of it, he has a right to investigate, but if it's private property and as far as crossing a locked gate or something, now if he's concerned about somebody's safety up there, then he has a right to do that. But as far as going over that locked gate just to go look, that's private property.
So there should be some evidence other than some mad neighbor calling and saying Joe is doing some things in his house.
I believe so.
Okay. Good.
So what are your office hours now?
Well, I have an evening shift that I've just started. I just put a sergeant on. When my sergeant retired, it put me in a bind because he had some comp time built up, and I had to let him get paid for that, and I couldn't fill the position until that was taken care of. So what I did was I had one position that was filled for a deputy. I had 2 deputies working evening already. So I put the other deputy on the evening shift, and then I put the sergeant on the evening shift, along with my MAP guy that's out there on evening shift. The evening shift works 3 to 11. And my day shift, they take care of the civil papers. I do have a civil guy out in the evenings, because sometimes you can't get civil papers served during the day. So we have somebody out there in the evening hours, working up till 9 o'clock at night to do civil process. And we don't serve civil process past 9 o'clock at night unless you can't get them during those hours and you see somebody come home at 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night, then you go serve them civil paper to get it over with. But they work 3 to 11 the evening shift, the patrol guys. I do have a sergeant on that shift now to supervise them. I give them Sundays and Mondays off. We've done some research onto it to figure out those are the most slow days, I guess you could say, as far as calls and stuff. So, and I'd rather have all of them off on the same day because I don't want them out there without a supervisor. So I just give the 4 guys off Sundays and Mondays, and the rest of the time during the week they work 3 to 11 and have a supervisor on them. So.
All right.
There's been talk, and you mentioned it here, one thing I hear candidates talk about is their office is having a 24/7. Well, give us both sides of why you don't need a 24/7 or why you do need a 24/7.
Well, as a constable, we serve civil. That's our main function. That's our priority. The sheriff's department is the ones that are out there working 24/7. The sheriff's department has a large department, so they're the ones that need to be the 24/7. Part of my precincts inside the city limits, they're 24/7. Would I like to be 24/7 to serve the people? Yeah, and I think as the constable for Precinct 2, we can serve Precinct 2 better than actually the sheriff's department does, because if we had the manpower to do so, we would be strictly in Precinct 2. And now to speak on the other side of it, like I say, you know, we serve civil process. That's our main function. That's what we're obligated by law, and the law tells us this is, you shall do this and shall get it done. We have to. We don't have no choice. That's our job. And that's what most constables have. Of course, you know, you look at Harris County, I know years ago, I guess commissioners and the county judge down there got into it with the sheriff, and they basically told the sheriff, your responsibility is the county jail, and that's what you're gonna work. And they took all the manpower and gave it to all the constables throughout the county, and that's why they have such large departments down there. And I guess over the years, they finally started giving the stuff back to the sheriff and getting them to do the job that they're supposed to do. Up here, you got certain precincts, like Precinct 4, that had their commissioner and him were together and was able to get the manpower that he wanted over there. Precinct 1, of course, has a large department. Precinct 3 has a large department. Precinct 5 is getting larger. And Precinct 2 doesn't have a commissioner. Precinct 2 has 3 commissioners. But I don't have a single commissioner that wants to take care of Precinct 2. So, would I like to be 24/7? Yeah, I think we should be. We could be. We could help the community a lot better. Do we need to be 24/7? Maybe not. But I mean, I throw that back and forth. Our job, our main job is civil process, and we handle that and we do it well. So I got some patrol guys out there in the evening now and taking care of things, arresting people, burglars, dope dealers, traffic stops, writing tickets, DWIs, warrants. They do a great job with that, with the manpower I have out there. Could I do more with more people? Possibly.
Okay, I'll give you a situation. Inside Precinct 2's boundaries, but outside any city boundaries. Middle of the afternoon, burglary in process, call goes to 911. How is that response handled? Does that call go out to the constable? Does it go out to the sheriff? Or how is that handled?
Well, inside the city limits.
I said outside city limits.
Outside city limits, that call goes into the sheriff's department and is dispatched to the two patrol deputies. Now, if my guys are out and they're looking at the computer, they can pick up on the call, they can answer the call, they can go to it. And everything is done on the computer nowadays.
Okay.
If they got something in progress, of course, they dispatch it live over the air, everybody hears it. If I got a deputy right around the corner, he's gonna respond to it. If the sheriff's deputy is I've answered calls for the sheriff's department because they don't have anybody available. I mean, everybody's tied up. So, I mean, especially in like River Plantation, when I've been out there, the call comes in River Plantation, I'll go take it. Because, their deputies are tied up, they're tied up. Then when they're gonna get to it? So, we do what we can to help out. And we assist the sheriff's department a great deal. Conroe PD, just touch on that real quick. We used to have communication with Conroe PD back before they did the big radio change, which has been a nightmare. Oh, we're going to get back, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It never has come about. So we don't know what Conroe PD is doing. And that's one of the big things that I've talked about in meetings that we've been to. I said, we need to be able to communicate with Conroe PD. We need to know what they're doing. We need to know what's going on. Because if one of my guys are in the city limits of Conroe and there's an armed robbery in progress at the store over here, and my guys pull into the store to go in to get something to drink, and they're walking into an armed robbery, they have no clue. So it's a dangerous situation. Is it gonna get fixed? It's above my pay grade.
It's up to Conroe PD.
Well, and I've talked with them too. I mean, I've met with the chief over there, I've met with people from the sheriff's department. Of course, Tommy Gage had up to one for Conroe PD. They didn't get along, and he had choice words for Conroe PD. But again, like I told him, I says, your guys aren't in Conroe PD's jurisdiction continuously like we are. And, like I said, we used to have radio communication, we used to be able to hear them. But now everything has got so technical, you can't communicate with anybody hardly anymore.
Okay, James. Around, isn't it?
We know that probably the more difficult, if not more dangerous situation for any law enforcement or peace officer is coming up onto a domestic dispute. And just as dangerous, not so much for law enforcement, I'll say, but definitely for citizens, are what we call active shooter, or terrorist acts, that type of thing. What sort of training do you provide for your deputies to deal with domestic disputes, terrorist acts, active shooter, and is any training provided for the community at large in your precinct for those issues?
Well, we don't actually provide it ourselves. There's classes out there, there's schools that we send out officers to. We're mandated by law that we have to take certain classes, which everybody has to take. I have set up a program with CISD police to where we have actually trained with them for active shooters in the schools. My department has actually gone in and worked directly with Conroe PD officers, Conroe ISD officers in schools, and we set it up on 2 different classes. They had the first class they had to go to, and they completed that. Once that class was completed, then they went to the second class for active shooters in the school. So I'm very proud of my guys for being part of that and being able to work with Conroe ISD police.
Is there any, what do you recommend that the schools do that they're currently not doing in CISD with regard to that issue?
That's kind of hard to say because I don't know if I have an answer for that, because when I look at some of these school shootings and I see some of the red flags that should have gone up with some of these people, that somebody should have, noticed, say, hey, there's something wrong with this guy. There's something going on here and we need to watch him. And that goes from parents to school officials to law enforcement, all of us. We see something, you're almost afraid to approach it anymore because, you're liable for this, you're liable for that. Things for law enforcement have gotten so, I guess we're damned if we do and you're damned if you don't, to be perfectly frank.
Well, if a shooter shows up, the schools lock their doors at the beginning of class, simple things like that would protect a lot of students, restricting the doors people can enter, that kind of thing.
They do that. All the schools I've been to, even I can't get in without actually going to the office and getting a tag to put on my shirt. I'm going, are you kidding me? I have a badge, I have a gun, look at my shirt, and they're going, don't mean nothing to us, you gotta get a little sticky badge.
Well, that's probably a good thing, right?
Yeah, a couple of the schools, I'm so well known with them that I do a lot of things with the school. You're good, Gene, go ahead. But, and I guess it is a good thing, just like you said, it's good that they do that because they don't say, oh, okay, Gene, we're gonna do it for you and we're gonna do it for this one, we're gonna do it for that one. They have rules and regulations that sit down,
yeah.
They have to do it for everybody. So I agree with that. So, and I don't mind going in and get my badge and sticking it on my shirt, so.
Thank you.
You brought up not having your own commissioner to deal with, and you happen to deal with 3 of them, and that doesn't always work well. You may have one that agrees with you and the other 2 that don't, which we've pretty much seen through history. What's your thought if we save the taxpayers a few $100,000 a year and did away with one constable office? For instance, we got 5 Constable Precinct 5 out of the picture, and then you only had 4 constables.
You can't do that.
Well, why can't you?
Under the Texas Constitution, we're actually governed by population. When population reaches a certain amount, they'll have to add another one.
So Texas Constitution is controlled by we the people. The legislature puts out a referendum, changes the Constitution, and the people vote on it and save the money. We still have the same amount of law enforcement officers out there, but we don't have all of the continued bureaucracy. Like, I think they have 8 constables in Harris County.
And I'm not sure how many, I know they used to have 8 constables here, 8 precincts here, because Precinct 7 became Precinct 2 in 1980, I believe it was. That's when they changed it. I think that's right. They did away with 8, 7, and 6.
Okay.
And brought it down to 5. I know commissioners are governed by population also.
Correct.
And they have to be 4 to a county, it doesn't matter how big the county is.
Right.
And with a 1 county judge.
But the problem that we have is not just with the constables, we also have that with the justice of the peace. And with doing that, then we have mixed lines where people live in a precinct. I'll just say Precinct 4, but you could be in Commissioner Precinct 4, but actually your Justice of the Peace and your Constable are Precinct 3, or Precinct 2, or Precinct 1.
That depends on what the boundary line is.
Exactly.
The JP and the constable are the same.
Right.
But the commissioner is different. And what you're saying, would I think something like that would work? I don't know. I know population, the more people you get.
You could have a substation
I know, I mean, I thought about that a long time ago, but,
Sheriff's office does it,
you know,
and they're
But the-
covering the entire thing.
again, you're talking about the responsibility of civil process.
Exactly, so the primary function of a constable is bailiff and civil process.
That's correct.
All the rest of the stuff, those are mandated, those are things you have to do. Anything else you do is because you want to and the community needs you to do it.
We want to protect the community.
Right.
And do what we can to
Right.
serve the community.
Right.
So is the
And-
sheriff's department not getting that done? Where
Well-
we need all these,
Conroe Police Department, really.
and Conroe Police Department, they not getting that done? Or we do need a constable's office like yours, and some of the candidates want to expand that.
Yeah, I know the candidates all speak, you know, I mean, that even the last two, the big thing was, you know, we can make this 24/7 with the manpower you have. Again, it does not take a mathematician to figure that out, that it's impossible to do. And like I tell people, you know, they can promise you the moon, but realistically, we all know that they can't handle the moon. And this is the same thing, you know, that they're promising, we can make this, you know, 24/7 with the manpower we have, and it's just not gonna happen. Because of the civil process that we have. When you're dealing with over 5,000 civil papers a year that you're mandated that you have to serve, and you have to show due diligence in serving those civil papers, it takes time.
Do you do those service 7 days a week, or is that limited to 5 days a
Do not
week?
serve civil on Sunday.
Okay, but you do 6 days a week.
And we do it 6 days a week.
So 5,000 a year and 14 deputies, that's 360, what am I missing here?
They don't have, I don't divide that between all the deputies now. You got, okay, out of 14 deputies, they got me. Okay, you got the chief, you got the lieutenant, or the captain, and you got the lieutenant.
Right,
Okay.
okay,
So that's 4 people right there.
right.
Okay, take them out. Now, on top of that, now you have a bailiff.
Take them out of 14 or take them out of?
Take them
Take out 14.
Okay, now, you got a bailiff, you have an ICAT detective, you have a narcotics officer, you have a map officer. I'll take those out. And the
One
rest
guy
of
doing the work.
Now I have 4 patrol officers that work evening shift with a sergeant. I take those out. Now that's what I have left to do civil process.
Which is what,
4 officers.
4?
So 4 officers, 5,000, that's, yeah, round it off to 5,000. 4 officers doing 5,000 civil papers. Estimated 8,000 attempts. And you may have a writ that it could be $1 million writ or a $10 million writ to go out here and try to collect property to satisfy that $1 million writ. Now, I'm responsible for that. Now, their responsibility is to find that property that they want me to seize, to sell, to satisfy that writ. That's their responsibility. Now, if they find that property, then it's our responsibility to go out there and get it before they do something with it. And we have to do it in a timely manner. Now, evictions, it could be eviction that can last. Okay, let me explain the process of an eviction. They do a 3-day notice, 3-day written notice to the tenant. No matter who it may be an apartment, a home, or business. Let's just pick out a business, okay? You got a business, you give them a 3-day written notice. Now, they still haven't moved out, they haven't done anything. They go to the court to get the eviction notice. Eviction notice comes to us, we give it to them. They've been evicted. They have a court date. The judge says, you're evicted, you have 20 days in which to get out. They're not out in the 20 days. They go back and get what they call a writ of attachment. That writ of attachment comes to us. We go out, we serve that writ of attachment to take possession of that building home or apartment, whatever it may be, and move them people out physically. Now, it's the landlord's responsibility to acquire the movers. I've had businesses that we served that took us 2 weeks to move these people out. I'm responsible for that till it gets done. There's been places that we've gone to that we've had to attach things, jet airplanes. I confiscated a jet airplane one day,
At the Conroe Airport?
Conroe Airport. We took the plane out of one hangar, we stuck it in another hangar and locked it down. Yeah. I'm responsible for that, $50 million jet, whatever it may be. And I'm telling you, I've never been sued in 19 years over any of this, because we've handled it and done our job appropriately to take care of the job at hand. And that's the people that work for me, and I'm proud of them for doing that. But it's a real long, drawn-out process of some of the things that we have to do. And that's one thing that, when you asked the question a little while ago, that's one thing that these guys don't have any clue what goes on here,
Yeah, that's probably true.
so.
One more question.
Okay, well, let me finish talking about the writs and the writ of execution. I've had 2 writs of execution served, not by your precinct. And in both cases, when I call them every week, they said, we're gonna work on it next week. They both went 90 days, really never got served. And from what you had said earlier, that's not timely. I mean, that stuff should not happen, should it?
No, it should not.
Okay, well, again, it wasn't yours. Let me continue on. If I do get served, and then I say that patrolman ran over my dog when he came to my house, and I send you a public information request, once you get that request, you would take it to the DA to see if that video should be released to me? I think that's what you said in your questionnaire. You go to the DA.
You're asking for an open records request?
Yeah, of the
for me?
video of that dash cam.
Yes. Anytime we get an open record request, we actually send it to the county attorney's office. So you send me an open record request on anything in my office. I look at it, I send it over to the district attorney's office. The district attorney's office, it goes over it, tells us what we can release, what we can't release. At that time, we send it over to you.
And do you think the process would take just a matter of a couple weeks, 2 or 3 weeks?
It depends on the county attorney's office. It could be anywhere from, well, we can get this done in a week, or it depends on how busy they are, how backlogged they are over there. It could be, I mean, it's a due process that has to be done. And it has to be done in a timely manner. I mean, we can't take, 6 months to do it. Because I've had open records requests monthly, because, some people, they want this or they want that. And I send it over there when they get it back and we get it out to them.
So coming from your office, it would just take a few days to get to the county attorney?
Oh, yeah, I get it over them right away. I don't hold on to it. So.
All right.
All right, that ought to wrap up the questions, if you'd like to wrap us up.
I don't have a backlog of papers in my office, and that's one thing that's being said. We do not have a backlog of papers. That's against the law for us to do. That's number one. Number two, another thing that's being said is that there's millions of dollars of fines that are not being collected. Well, that's another thing that these guys don't understand. About 4 years ago, all the JPs got together with the district attorney. They dismissed everything that was 10 years and older, wiped it right off the books, dismissed it all. At that time, net data came in and got with the JPs, 1, 2, 4, and 5. Edie Conley didn't get on board. Net data comes in, they go into the county system with the JPs now. Now, if the fine comes down on something, they're notified immediately. They go to collect this fine. Now, let's say it's $100. $100 fine, they charge 30%. So they collect a $130 fine, they keep the $30, the $100 come back to the county. County don't lose no money, gets money. There's a lot of the fines over there at the JP's office that we have no control over whatsoever. we have no authority to go out there and collect any of them. Some of them are things that have been set up on a payment plan, and, you know, they're in the process of paying off their fines, whatever it may be. I mean, they may owe $1,000, or they may owe $500, or $100, maybe $10 a month is what they're paying to pay out this fine. This is something, an agreement that they've come up with the JP's office. So those things I can't touch. We can't touch any of that. And there probably is several $1 million in stuff out there that is owed to the JP, owed to the county, but we have no control over it. We have nothing, no rights whatsoever to go out and serve any of that. Now, if something goes to a warrant, that data is contacted immediately. This has gone to a warrant. They contact whoever the warrant is for and say, hey, a warrant's been issued for your arrest, you need to come and take care of this fine immediately. So they go, they collect a warrant fee, they collect a fine plus their 30%, and they make money, and so does the county. Now, there's warrants that probably won't get served. Any warrant that's outside the county, outside the adjacent county, they're not gonna extradite. I mean, they can arrest them, and they call down here and say, will you extradite this person? No, they won't. Because it's too costly. Cost the county too much money to go up there and extradite to bring somebody back that owes a $250 fine and a $100 warrant fee, whatever it may be. So that's too costly for them to do that, so we don't do that. Now, if it's an adjacent county, we can go pick them up and bring them back and take them for the judge, and they're fine. We do serve warrants. Weekly. I mean, we pick people up out there on traffic stops that have warrants, take them to jail. But, I mean, Class C misdemeanor warrants, you take them to jail, they serve a day, they're out, they're gone. Or they serve 2 days, they're out, they're gone. You know, they've served their time. Where's that worth it? Who's putting the bill on that?
Right.
The county. You are, the taxpayer. And it's not worth it. Felony warrants, yeah, we serve them, we pick them up, you know. And serving warrants, we make phone calls. We sit down, and I had a couple of people on light duty for 8 months. But they had 2 of them now that were on light duty, could not work. But they came in the office, they went up there and made phone calls on warrants, you know, to try to get people to come in to pay them. And again, this is something the net data is doing automatically. But we're just kind of like a backup for them to try to help get that money in. Then my guys have done that. So, I mean, we do the job. We do due diligence on everything that we work on, and that includes warrants and whatever else we have to do. We get the job done. There is nothing in my office that is not. And again, like I say, you know, in 19 years, we've never been sued. I can tell you, right after I took office, we had LULAC contact me because I put out a mandate that if somebody's driving a vehicle, they don't have a driver's license, they don't have insurance on the vehicle, that vehicle don't go on the road. It's towed.
Yeah.
So LULAC contacted me and wanted to say, wanted records on everybody that I've been having towing for because I've been picking on the Hispanics. I wrote them back and I told them, I said, no ma'am, I said, I'm not picking on the Hispanics, my wife's Hispanic. And my bottom line is this, if they don't have a
You
driver's
towed her
license,
car too.
they don't have insurance, they do not drive the vehicle.
Right.
I'm not gonna have one of my guys, I know time's up, I'm not gonna have my guys write a ticket to somebody, put them back in the car they just wrote them a ticket for, no insurance and no driver's license, let them drive off down the road and hit somebody and hurt somebody,
Of course.
and here they have a ticket, one of my guys had just written them,
Yeah.
for doing the same thing they just did,
Amen.
and it's not worth it. That's a lawsuit.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna happen. Not in my office anyway, not as long as I'm there.
All right, well, thank you. That concludes our interview, and we appreciate you coming in.